What comes to your mind when someone mentions Transylvania? Probably vampires, castles, poverty. Given how rich and colorful Transylvanian culture is, whether we talk about the Romanian, Saxon, Hungarian or Romani side, it's pretty sad to see that my homeland is stereotyped based on the descriptions of a xenophobic author who never set foot here, didn't do any research about our culture or history, and openly hated Eastern Europeans. This is why I feel like it's important to amplify the voices of local authors and artists. And this is why today I will dive into the works of two very talented Transylvanian comic book artists. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In case you're new here, hi, I'm Anna, the Transylvanian villager, and this is Read and Play, the series where I review fantasy books while playing video games. So if you're into that, please consider subscribing. In today's episode, I am bringing you a comic book series called Stima Apelor, aka the Water Pixy or Water Fairy, written by Naïade, Surducan and Benczedi. In the gameplay, I will continue exploring the weird universe of Resident Evil 8, in which I will return to the village for a while and I will stroll through House Beneviento, so stay tuned for an epic episode. But before we do so, I would like to throw some random facts at you about the city where this series was published, Cluj-Napoca, since that's what we do on this channel. Cluj-Napoca, also known by its Hungarian name as Kolozsvár and its German name, Klausenburg, is a city in northwest Romania and it dates back to pre-Roman times. It is the birthplace of Matthias Corvinus, who was the king of Hungary and Croatia from 1458 to 1490. And there is a massive statue of him in the downtown area, which has become the icon of the city. It is the home of Transylvania's second largest church and some of Eastern Europe's best universities. Cluj is ranked first among the 100 largest cities in the EU in terms of air quality, thanks to the surrounding forests. It was named the European Youth Capital of 2015, and according to the Eurostat yearbook statistics of 2014, it is the most welcoming city, given the locals' positive attitude towards foreigners. Also, its number of IT engineers per capita is greater than the US, China, India or Russia, and I am proudly part of that statistic. So without further ado, let's dissect this series. The fantasy comic book series called Water Pixy was written and illustrated by Naïade, Surducan and Benczedi. Surducan is a Transylvanian Romanian comic book artist who worked on multiple folklore-inspired graphic novels. She is a huge fan of Romanian mythology and folktales, and she believes that her true calling is storytelling. Benczedi is a Transylvanian Hungarian illustrator who worked on multiple children's books. She's a huge fan of graphic novels, and she does a wonderful job both with ink and digital tablets. Her dream is to have a viral webcomic that will conquer the internet, and although my platform isn't that big, I want to contribute to making that dream possible. But what is this series actually about? The Water Pixy or Water Fairy series consists of two volumes. The first one tells the bittersweet tale of a water pixie who falls in love with a gold miner. The story perfectly incorporates the topic of the gold rush in Romania, which has a long and messy history which causes controversy even today. The plot revolves around the classic tropes of Transylvanian folktales, such as love, greed, sacrifice, ingratitude, and betrayal, incorporating elements of Romanian mythology. This volume is quite short and quick, with an enjoyable narrative and a heartbreaking ending. The second volume revolves around the adventures of the Water Pixie's daughter and her friends, as well as her father's fights against the raiding giants in a more steampunkish setting. This one focuses more on getting in touch with one's ancestry and rediscovering one's roots. Both protagonists are charming and enjoyable to follow, the character dynamics are well written and believable, and of course the settings are quite stunning and magical. Both stories are captivating, but they felt a little bit rushed and empty from time to time, so the plot itself deserves a 4 out of 5 stars rating. Aside from the plot being filled with the basic elements of Transylvanian tales, the world building has quite a lot of mythological references, including elements both from Romanian folktales and Hungarian legends. The Water Pixy or Water Fairy is a character which can be found both in Hungarian and Romanian folklore. In Romanian tales, Stima Apelor is the divinity of still waters and goodwill, comparable to the Naïades from Greek mythology. According to Romanian mythology, each body of still water has a pixie who appears in the form of an unimaginably beautiful woman with long, greenish blue hair that's long enough to reach the ground. When she's in the water, she is half human, half fish, like a mermaid. And when she gets angered by the ones living on land, she will flood their fields and homes. In Hungarian folktales, however, water fairies appear in a completely different light. For example, in the folktale called The Fairy of the Water, in which a water fairy offers a distressed man wealth in return for something he does not yet possess. She ends up taking his firstborn son once that child reaches adulthood, but in the end the son ends up being saved by his wife. The portrayal in this comic book series resembles the one from Romanian folklore, but instead of the classic mermaid form, they can turn into water ferrets instead. We also get to see some creatures similar to Vârcolac, which is something like a werewolf. In Romanian mythology, Vârcolac is a demon which can eat the sun and the moon, causing the eclipse, who also appears in the form of humans, which can turn into wolves or dogs. Vârcolacs are evil creatures which negatively influence the order of the world. It is believed that children who weren't baptized or were born with abnormalities, as well as people who have killed their siblings, can turn into Vârcolacs, and they can transform during an eclipse. In the story, he appears as a wolf who can shapeshift at will and can perform magic similarly to the Water Pixies. There is also a small reference to Hungarian mythology, which barely exists due to the extensive Christianization, which kind of erased the pre-Christian Hungarian culture. But one of the very few figures that survived this cultural cleansing is the Turul bird. The Turul bird is a protective spirit whose role is to protect Almos, who, according to the uniform account of Hungarian chronicles, was the first head of the loose federation of the Hungarian tribes from around 850. He appears in the legend called Emes's dream, Emese being the mother of Almos. According to legends, the Turul was also the one who led Hungarians to the current-day Budapest from the plains of Central Asia. In the comic book series, however, the Turul appears as a shady character who can transform from a human into a beautiful talking bird. We also get to see some Uriashis, aka giants, the way they are described in Romanian mythology, unlike the portrayal in Resident Evil 8. In Romanian mythology, they resemble cyclopses, having a third eye on their foreheads, but they are way bigger than how they are portrayed here. The mother of the giants kind of reminded me of two different characters. On one hand, there is Baba Koja, which is a Transylvanian version of Baba Yaga, a character from Slavic mythology that appears in the form of an old woman who in some stories is an evil child-eating monster, while in other cases she actually helps the hero find his way. On the other hand, she also resembles Muma Puduri, the mother of forests, who is an ugly and mischievous or mad old woman living in the heart of virgin forests in a hut or cabin, or in some cases an old tree. She is usually the opposite of fairies and pixies, and she is portrayed as the protector of the animals and plants, brewing potions and helping injured animals. She cures the forest if it is dying, and she keeps unwanted trespassers away by driving them mad and scaring them. The main topic of the first volume, the gold rush, is quite a controversial topic in Transylvania. You see, for ages there have been protests and social media activism against the Montana mining project. What is that, you might ask? Well, this is a gold and silver mining project initiated by Montana Gold Corporation in Montana, which would potentially become Europe's largest open-pit gold mine, and it would use the gold cyanidation mining technique. That sounds all nice and great. The problem, however, started with the mining company trying to eat local farmers out of their homes and creating a lot of environmental issues. A number of organizations and groups opposed to the project, including environmentalists, professors of economics, international archaeologists, and all the major churches of Romania. You see, according to experts, the project would cause an environmental disaster and it would destroy the ancient Roman archaeological site. Not to mention that the project involved handling assets to the Canadian company, while the Romanian state would only earn 6%. Talk about exploitation. And the project today is still on hold. So yeah, the topic of greed and gold mining in Transylvanian folklore-inspired story automatically reminded me of the Montana situation. Now to sum it up, the story has quite an interesting setting and universe, referencing both Romanian and Hungarian mythology as well as real-life events. And in my humble opinion, it deserves a big thumbs up. If you look at the art style of the two volumes, you might notice a huge difference between them. I guess this change might have been done with the intention to show that the two stories are set in two different time periods. The first one has this grayish color scheme, which reminded me of Harrow County. This volume has a lower amount of dialogue and a lot of time-lapse montages, which works perfectly in this fairy tale-like setting. The illustrations are very atmospheric and captivating. I especially love the character design, mainly because I used to have this exact hair color at some point in my life. And I also love the panorama illustrations. It is absolutely magnificent. The second volume is more colorful and dynamic, although it has a bit more dialogue. This one is way more colorful, putting a lot of focus on color and light contrasts. I especially enjoyed the vivid blue and orange contrast, which is visible throughout the entire volume. This one doesn't have those charming time-lapse montages, but it does have quite a few action-packed pages on which you can notice a lack of outlines, which works perfectly thanks to the rich color contrast. It is so beautiful and charming. I absolutely love it. Knowing Transylvanian folklore and mythology, I honestly wish this region was represented more like this and less like that. I think that Surducan and Benczedi did a wonderful job putting our folklore onto paper, both with the story itself and the illustrations, and I cannot wait to read the upcoming volumes of this series. Although the plot itself requires some minor improvements, I absolutely love the series, so I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And after this, I need to dive into the other works of these two amazing artists. As of the day of me making this video, there is no English translation out yet, but knowing my demographic, I know that most of you speak either Romanian or Hungarian or even both. If the rest of you can speak French, you can check the French translation out as well. In my opinion, this series definitely needs an English translation because I feel like it needs to reach a wider audience so it can fix the broken image of Transylvania, which was created by Stoker in people's minds, and change the global perception of our culture a little bit. I know I say this a lot on my channel, but due to the isolation of the communist era, Central and Eastern European cultures were widely inaccessible to the rest of the world, and the anti-communist propaganda, which was born in Western media, has created a grotesque image of us as the bad side of Europe, which still exists in pop culture today. This misrepresentation is visible in fiction as well. Slavic and other forms of Central and Eastern Europe inspired fantasy became a huge trend, and bestsellers filled with cultural ignorance and offensive stereotypes are published one after another. I believe that it is time to change that perception, which is why I will continue my fight against this cultural misrepresentation by amplifying the voices of local authors who base their works on their own history and mythology. But enough about that. What are your thoughts on this topic and on this series? Tell me in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos about the literature and gaming related topics of this area, please consider subscribing. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.